marks the end of an era for the online magazine Teen Vogue, as it will no longer operate as its own website. Publisher Condé Nast announced last week that Teen Vogue will be folded back into the parent Vogue, the Big Vogue website.
In addition, several of the magazine's more politically focused writers have been laid off. The announcement on the company's website reads, Teen Vogue's joining Vogue.com, a transition as part of a broader push to expand the Vogue ecosystem. That title will remain a distinct editorial property with its own identity and mission. Sitting under the Vogue umbrella will provide a more unified reader experience across titles. As a dedicated pillar on Vogue, Teen Vogue will focus its content on career development, cultural leadership, and other issues that matter most to young people.
Teen Vogue started out as a print magazine in 2003, but as its readership declined in the 2010s, it began publishing less frequently. And in 2017, it ceased to exist in print form and instead became online only.
The magazine began leaning more into left-wing politics during the first Trump administration, a move that made it a common target for conservative media. Many people brought up data suggesting that, contrary to its name, the vast majority of Teen Vogue's readers were much older than teenagers. Journalist Jesse Singal, referencing a Washington Examiner article, says in its latter years, less than 5% of Teen Vogue's readership was younger than 25 years old, according to one estimate. It was an outlet by and for 20 to 40-something radical chic types that had very little to do with teenagers.
Other media outlets, though, have been eulogizing the website in the past week, with some taking a more positive view than others. An article on Forbes offered high praise, saying, quote, Teen Vogue morphed into a cultural touchstone following the 2016 election for its unflinching investigation into issues mainstream media outlets were reluctant to touch, such as clear-eyed reporting on abortion and allegations of Donald Trump's gaslighting. It continued to maintain that political bent through the next decade.
But the Free Press was far more critical of the magazine's politics, writing, the fall of Teen Vogue is one more sign of an ongoing shift in the media landscape. Looking back at the site's content from the peak of the culture's great awakening is like following through a wormhole into a past which, though recent, feels like it took place on another planet. Yes, indeed.
Both of us are big Teen Vogue readers, obviously, Ralphie, so I'm glad we've got the experts in on this one.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Teen Vogue, we hardly knew ye. First of all, I love these kinds of press releases, lauding the expansion of our media product.
The Vogue umbrella, the ecosystem.
Literally contracting.
Yeah.
By rapturing it back into the parent brand.
Right.
What Kat said in her Free Press article is, from my perspective, very true, that it really was an artifact of a certain time of the 2010s, where what we now call wokeness was much more culturally hegemony, them covering Me Too era type culture stuff and cancelings of people and with a great zeal. That era is very definitively behind us, and at the same time, the broader media landscape has suffered some unfavorable economic conditions. I've said this on the show many times, so regular listeners probably know this. Many other people do not, that the dominant distribution model for online media in the 2010s was Facebook, which generated enormous revenue for media properties from 2010 to 2020. You could have an article go viral and have the click-through rate on Facebook. It would go viral on Facebook. Everybody would share it on Facebook. They'd click. Actually, they wouldn't just read it on Facebook. They would click. It would send it to your website, and that was very good for ad sales. That was very profitable. That was true of thehill.com, the company we work for, and many, many other right, left, everyone had enormous traffic and enormous profits for that reason. Then Facebook made the decision to deprioritize off-site links, deprioritize news in general, and that killed every media company, period, end of story. And we are now in the post-that era where social media, things go viral on social media, links never go viral, doesn't redirect traffic elsewhere. It's about having the traffic on the platform itself. Concurrently, individual media makers of content for platforms do very well. Brands that are trying to steer you to a website or a different media product are screwed.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, people who aren't in the media business might have no reason to be aware of the fact that X or Twitter never sent that many people clicking through. You'd get these tweets that went super viral, but the actual click-through rate was tiny, which Facebook used to be very different from that, and then Facebook just stopped giving those things. From what I have seen just over the years of Teen Vogue, obviously its political sensibility would be more aligned with my views than it would be with yours. There's no question about that. I do think that they have done some good reporting, even quite recently. I mean, they've done some reporting with people in Gaza itself. They've done reasonable stuff on that topic. It's also, without going back into the whole sort of history of 1990s and 2000s magazines, Condé Nast, which was at one time a massively profitable company, generally catered for a very affluent white readerships across all its properties. And in fact, 2 of the first 3 top black editors at Condé Nast were editors of Teen Vogue. So it did have some commitment to diversity in that way. Now, all of that being said, obviously we're in a very difficult landscape for print or text first media generally. There's been a lot of contraction, even at Condé Nast. There's been a lot of contraction with some of those brands that just haven't worked out in various ways.
I don't think a teenager is going to go to Vogue.com to read anything.
I don't imagine so. Yeah.
They're getting news and information from TikTok and Instagram and maybe X, social media, right?
Yeah, and that's right. And I can't remember the woman's name now, but I saw some former staffer from Teen Vogue make that point, that the idea that you create a print or text-based brand to speak to adolescents of either gender is just, that's not really how it works anymore at this stage.
You might as well print it, type it on a typewriter. You might as well
sell leaflets.
Sell leaflets
outside the disco. Rather.
Yeah, it's just over, and this is a challenge again for brands because the distribution model now supports individuals. Individuals have all the power. I mean, we were just talking about conservative media, Tucker and other people, and Tucker has a massive audience out on his own. No longer part of any conservative media brand. I mean, this is true for people on the left. A lot of people have even divorced themselves even from places like The Intercept, which were at the vanguard of the left. Ryan Grimm and Ken Klippenstein and others have left to start Substacks or different media companies that are more individual brand focused. A lot of Jessica Burbank, who used to co-host this show on Fridays and sometimes with me, gets an Instagram and a TikTok following. You know, I don't understand these things as well because, like you, I'm an old person and I've just figured out YouTube sometime over the last 5 years, so I know how to make content for our dominant platform. But it is an interesting. It's a new environment and there's no going back. And brands are going to have to learn to reward and invest in content creators because they're still in the mode where the brand is the brand and we can replace anyone with anyone else.
Nobody's bigger than the brand.
And that's true on your panel show on cable news. You're right. It's the 5 or the equivalent on CNN. You're right. They can swap out people who there are people like Jesse Waters. It doesn't need to be Jesse Waters. It could be someone like him. He's tremendously talented. He's not easily replaced, but it can be done because the format matters and the brand matters. But that's for older people who watch TV. It's not true for people who are younger people who are getting their news from social media. They're trusting in individuals, not brands. And brands are going to have to get that through their heads.
Well, and to that point, somewhere like Teen Vogue that did bill itself very much with that liberal sensibility, that's all well and good. But in fact, to your point, people are now following individuals because they have trust in those individuals or they are simpatico with that individual's ideological beliefs, whether it's left, right, or some other offshoot, ideologically speaking. So the idea that you can just create a brand with that sensibility and people will go to the website, that seems highly unlikely to me.
Highly unlikely indeed.
We have a lot more to talk about on Rising, so stay with us for that.